Welcome to Unleash Leadership, the podcast where bold leaders and changemakers come together to share their stories, strategies, and insights for creating a lasting impact on society. Carla Blanco is your host. For over 28 years, she has been navigating the complexities of the corporate and government worlds, a journey that's taught her that authentic leadership isn't just about climbing the ladder. It's about lifting others as you rise. Along the way, she uncovered the unwritten rules that drive success, the ones no one tells you about, but that can define your career and legacy. On this podcast, she'll sit down with extraordinary guests from around the globe, leaders, visionaries, and innovators who are leaving their mark on the world. Together, they'll explore their journeys, uncover their tips and tricks, and dive into the challenges they've overcome to inspire you to excel in whatever you're facing. Whether you're climbing the corporate ranks, building your personal brand, or leading change in your community, this podcast is your space to grow, learn, and unleash the leader within. So grab a notebook, get ready to take action, and join us on this journey to unleash our leadership potential. Before we dive in, make sure to follow Carla on Instagram, LinkedIn at Carla Blanco Coach, Carla with a K, and YouTube at Carla Blanco Show to stay connected and get even more leadership tips and updates.
I am thrilled to introduce Roxy Williams. Originary from the Afro-Miskito Indigenous community in Nicaragua, she is a space researcher, Forbes 30 Under 30 honoree, and founder of Pantera Space, which expands access to the space sector through education and innovation. She is a former software development intern at Intel Corporation and former regional coordinator for North Central America and the Caribbean at the Space Generation Advisory Council. She now serves as regional manager for Latin America at Cosmos for Humanity. Her expertise includes satellite mission architecture and deep space systems design. She was named as Emerging Leader and selected by United Nations to speak on space solutions for emergency management and coastal resilience. Roxy, tell us about your story, your family, where did you grow up? Go all in.
Okay, perfect. Yeah, thank you so much, first of all, for the invitation and to have this wonderful conversation. I was born in the Caribbean coast of Nicaragua, where the night sky was breathtaking and full of stars, and a bright moon was the reason, and it was sparked by that little light of curiosity for space. And life, of course, back there in my community was very different. And I remember when Hurricane Felix struck in my community, I saw helicopters picking up the bodies of people who have died at the moment. It was a very strong moment for me. And that moment stayed with me and showed me how fragile life can be when communities lack safety, and when they also lack preparation. So growing up in the Caribbean coast also meant living in communities that lack safety, in an environment where violence was part of a daily life, especially for women and little girls. Many little girls in my hometown grow up surrounded by it, and whether inside their homes or in their neighborhoods. And I love my culture, I love my people and our traditions, of course, deeply. But I also, sometimes we cannot ignore the reality of how the situations you lived in. The community I come from, it's one of the poorest communities in Nicaragua, and I think even in Latin America. And living between the inspiration of skies and the challenges of, on the ground have made me very resilient, and also have gave me this conviction that leadership isn't optional, but it is a responsibility. So
Mm.
yes, it was it. This was as I was a little girl, but then moving from the Caribbean coast to the capital, I had the incredible opportunity to access to even more opportunities. Many more doors open up, and I had the chance to be part of a course that was implemented in Nicaragua. That was basically a program that was founded, and it is a Harvard programming course that was implemented in Nicaragua. And I remember becoming one of the first female teaching assistant of the course. It was wonderful learning about programming, and I also was teaching a few girls in Granada about coding as well. And in the university, I became the president of the ecological club that I was part of, and then I became the president of it in Kaiser University. And then I was also able to lead a few teams in NASA Space of Challenge, which were a few competitions that use space technologies to solve different kind of problems. So yeah, I went through it, how I grew up, but at the same time, one of the most impactful moments I will say also is that although I love technology and science growing up, I also very much loved poetry and literature. So I
Mm.
I had the chance to meet some of the most influential people in Nicaragua, like Mr. Eddie Cool, the former vice president of Nicaragua, Mr. Sergio Ramirez, and it was just wonderful to learn and a lot from them and from their experiences.
That's so beautiful how you connected humanity with all the different perspectives of life and your transitions, because there were so many transitions that I bet those transitions strengthened your resiliency.
Yes, it definitely did. It was, imagine, I moved to Managua when I was about 10 years old, I think, and it was at a very young age, but still found people that were there to support me throughout my way. So it was nice.
And then you moved to Costa Rica and now you are in the US. So there are so many changes. And I am just sharing like a summary because I know it takes years and resilience and strength and keep moving forward. Thank you for that example. You are a great role model. And you've moved from software development to leading space missions and policy. What sparked your passion for the space, and how did you navigate such a bold trajectory? You mentioned the skies in your town, but then how that evolved in you growing up?
Yes, of course. Um, I said that I've always also loved literature, but one of the biggest one also is that I always loved computers. I was very good at computers, even in my during high school. I always aced my courses in computers, and I had this curiosity about space. But coming from a region where there is not a developed space program, I thought that the closest way to get into the industry will be through something practical, or basically through computers, which was something that I loved very much. But then, with the support of the people around me, I had the chance to attend an aerospace camp in Costa Rica. And that experience completely shifted my perspective. I realized I could combine both of the things I loved very much, software and space. And during this camp, I had the chance to learn from wonderful leaders, scientists, and engineers. And I had the chance to meet many Costa Rican people that were working at NASA. And this made a huge impact in me because I was also able to build with my own hands as so as a solid propellant rocket of this size. And it made me realize that I always loved it, creating things with my own hands or something similar. And that software was something that will give me that chance. And On one hand, I've worked on technical projects in software, avionics, and mission design. But on the other hand, I've also stayed connected to the things that I love. I initially wanted to study political science at Kaiser University. I had received a scholarship, a merit scholarship to study in the university, and that was my first major option. However, after the aerospace camp, I got back to Nicaragua and I went to the university and I said, I like to change my major and I want to major now in software engineering. Um, and while I started the major in software engineering, I've always stayed deeply connected to policy, which is also why today I'm part of the Policy and Advocacy Task Force for North Central America and the Caribbean. So for me, it was never probably about choosing one or the other, but to be able to bridge between the technology, the policy, and the things that I love. And because where the real impact happens is when we combine these things, from my perspective.
Yes, creating positive impact for humanity and the planet. Thank you. You founded Pantera Space to democratize access to the space sector. What barriers are you breaking, and how do hands-on education and interdisciplinary research fuels innovation?
Yes, so Pandora Space is for anyone who wants access to space education, whether it's to use it as a tool to solve challenges here on Earth, to research and learn more about the universe, or to explore technologies like artificial intelligence and robotics applied to space. The barrier that we're breaking is the idea that space is reserved for a privileged few or for countries with advanced programs. We are aware that there are countries that already have advanced programs, but we can work together to continue creating access for everybody. We make space approachable, practical, and interdisciplinary. That means not only engineers can be part of or learn about space, but also policymakers, even farmers, entrepreneurs, and artists that can see themselves as part of the space story. And so innovation happens when you bring all of these different voices together. So Pantera Space is about showing that space belongs to everyone and that it can inspire, educate, and empower people in ways that directly benefit society and the planet. So we can use every perspective and information available to not just continue exploring outer space, but be able to contribute and benefit all of the information that we collect from outer space to Earth.
That's so inspiring. You are definitely an unstoppable leader. I really, really admire you. And as a space for humanity ambassador, you have literally floated in microgravity. What did you experience? What did that experience teach you about human potential, leadership, and perspective?
Yes, it was through a parabolic flight, and it was an experience that I will never forget. And for a few seconds, gravity let go of me, and it was a wonderful experience to feel that freedom. And I realized both how small we are, but at the same time how much potential we carry, and that together we can all reach for the stars. It taught me that leadership is a lot like floating. You have to let go of fear, trust the process as well, and of course, find balance even when things feel uncertain. And the perspective it gave me was very powerful. Even from this parabolic flight on a plane, you see Earth as one. We were many people inside the flight. We were about, I think, 28 people in the flight, and all of us were able to experience it. All of us were from different backgrounds, from different countries, a different knowledge, and we were there. No borders, no division. It was just wonderful how the experience that we had in the flight was just showing how leadership has to be collaborative and wordless, just like in space. Everything that has been done in space, while initially there was a space race between countries, it became at some point that either we continue competing or we work together and we will be able to reach even further.
Thank you. We are one, definitely.
Thank you.
And let's talk about designing the future. You led avionics and communications for a Mercury sample return and a commercial ISS concept. I would like you to explain more about the ISS concept. What leadership lessons emerged when designing for deep space collaboration?
Well, both of these were mission design concepts, but they were really incredibly formative. For the Mercury sample return design, I worked on avionics and communication under the guidance of a fantastic leader, Sabna Rao. She works at Lockheed Martin, and I had the chance to apply the technical knowledge that I had gained and already had at the moment, and while learning so much from my mentor's experience, or team leader, it taught me that how that leadership is also about creating space for others to grow in their strength. And the commercial space station concept was part of the space station design workshop at the University of Stuttgart in Germany in their Institute of Space Technologies. And for about a week and a half, our international team was tasked, we were divided in two big groups, and our team was tasked with designing a commercial station for the future once the ISS the orbits. And I worked on the communications part, and I had the privilege of learning directly from a mentor at DLR, or basically the space agency in Germany. And our team ended up winning the competition for the best commercial space station. And it was really wonderful because we worked under a lot of pressure. It was very intense, but it was a very inspiring experience. It showed me that how quickly people who don't know each other can come together, work under pressure, and produce something so visionary. We had to not just work on the systems of the space station concept, but we also had to build a whole business plan about the concept itself, because since it was a commercial space station, we were going to be, let's say, selling it to people or to investors. And this experience, or the biggest leadership lesson that I took away, is that every voice and every detail matters. In deep space, one overlooked detail can cost the mission. And on Earth is exactly the same. So leaders need to build cultures where expertise is valued and people can feel confident to contribute, because the breakthrough often comes from the places that you least expect. And I remember vividly how it was. It was a wonderful experience, but yes, it was a lot of pressure in a short time. And, perhaps the most important thing is also that these experiences taught me to enjoy the challenge itself, that even though we didn't know how the results will have come out and if our concept will be the best, we still lean into it and we let others, because we also had leaders in the team, to be able to guide us and trust each other on the knowledge that each one of us had, and just to build this beautiful concept together.
When we bring the best of humanity through collaboration, bringing those diverse perspectives is when we have the best solutions for humanity. Thank you for that example. It's inspiring. I am delighted to be here with you. And as you are shaping space advocacy and policy across Latin America and the Caribbean, how do you balance technical expertise with diplomacy and regional equity? And you can connect that also with those leadership learnings, because seems that those human skills are the ones that we really need to tap in when solving challenges.
Yes, for me, it's like I said, these are the things that I love: policy, technology, space. And so for me, it's like weaving three strengths together. Technical expertise basically gives me credibility. People know I understand the science and the systems. Diplomacy opens doors and creates the trust needed to collaborate across so many countries. That's what basically we do. And I have had the chance to work with many people from different countries and create programs and projects where I have to work with people from other countries or ask people to collaborate together. And it's where diplomacy comes in. And equity keeps me grounded. It reminds me that if our policies don't serve the most vulnerables as well, then we've missed the mark. So
Mhm.
balancing all of this three is what makes space advocacy meaningful. It ensures that we're not just advancing technology for technology's sake, but building frameworks that are fair, that are effective and beneficial for the entire region. So I was very pleased and so so happy when the team had opened up a position and to lead special projects within the advocacy and policy task force team. So I enjoy sharing and bringing this expertise at the same time, bringing space policy so that we can create, of course, you need laws and regulations in every country when you start a space program or when you want to build space missions. So, learning and sharing this knowledge with other people from a region that may not exactly have a space policy established in their country. So, how they can build this and create more spaces for people to bring their knowledge and bring opportunities as well. So, yeah.
An agent of change. And continue with that, share with us about Divinas and astronaut evolution, because through Space Generation Advisory Council, you are researching how astronaut profiles are changing. What trends are you seeing, and how do they reflect broader shifts in leadership and inclusion?
Yes, through the Venus, we've seen how the perfect astronaut no longer exists. For me, it meant a lot when I started. I started the Venus or in the Venus as a researcher initially, and then last year I was given the position to lead the research group. And so it meant a lot to me to understand the profiles of astronauts throughout the years. And we have been working on this for about 3 years now. And in the past, the profile of an astronaut was very narrow, mostly male pilots with military backgrounds or engineering backgrounds. Today, we're seeing a much broader range: scientists, educators, communicators, and even pro astronauts with disabilities. And it shows how throughout the years even the space industry has changed. Human space flights have changed. Even before entering the 2000s, we started seeing these small tips and small changes when the astronaut profiles start changing and including scientists as well. So this reflects a bigger shift. Leadership in space is starting to mirror the leadership on Earth as well, because on Earth we're seeing everybody and any people being part of different industries, and in space usually you will just think of the perfect able people that can go to space who have a really good physical they are really good physically. So we're realizing that resilience, creativity, and adaptability are just as important as physical traits as well. So it's
Mm.
exciting because it means more people can see themselves as future astronauts, and space exploration becomes even more representative of humanity as a whole. And especially now with the growth of space, commercial space, it has also given another perspective of having people who have had the chance to go to space, to cross the Kármán line, and be able to experience, they call it the overview effect, which means how you feel about yourself or how your perspectives change when you see Earth from above or from space. So it commercial space is giving the opportunity, or commercial flights, as in having people who cross the Kármán line, the chance to see how beautiful is the planet that we lived in from above. So it's just wonderful, and I love the work that we're doing in Divinas in informing how all of these trends have changed, all of these profiles, these new nationalities, as we used to see just a few countries, maybe the US or Russia or some countries in Europe. And so now we're starting to see even more countries from other regions, countries that are emerging space countries. So it's just wonderful.
Let's talk about legacy beyond Earth. If you could leave one message for young leaders dreaming of a space, what would it be? And how do you envision a more ethical, inclusive future in the cosmos?
My message will be that your voice matters more than you think. Don't wait until you feel ready. Step into the spaces that makes you uncomfortable and raise your voice so the world and even the universe can hear it. And as we dream about the cosmos, we need to dream ethically. Space isn't about abandoning Earth, it's about protecting it as well. And the future we build beyond Earth must be as sustainable, responsible, and visionary as the one we're trying to build here. One thing that I have learned so much from the experiences that I have had and the huge opportunities that I have had is that sometimes sometimes people limit themselves, and we shouldn't be doing that. If I would have thought of the community I come from and wouldn't have dreamed or keep dreaming and keep seeing the dreams and the goals that I had and had a vision of it, I wouldn't have reached many of the things that I have done. I have had the chance to go to universities and be a speaker in Switzerland or in Germany as I participated in the competition, and many other countries in Europe and even in the US. It's just wonderful how you grow, how you have to believe it. You don't have to wait when you feel ready. Sometimes, of course, at the very beginning, I will always just ask myself first, am I ready for this? And believe me, this even happened recently when I applied for the zero gravity program, because when I saw, I said, there are some things that probably I don't have it or I might not have enough following base to apply for this, because we had to share a video on our social media and I didn't feel ready for it. And I said, maybe I can, yeah, maybe I can apply for it next year when they open the program again. And I had a beautiful angel who reached out to me directly through a WhatsApp message, and she shared the link of the program and she said, Roxy, you should apply for this. And I took that as a sign for me, because she sent me the message, I think a day before the deadline or a night before the deadline. And I said, this is my sign. This is my sign to do it and to believe that if I don't give it a try, I will never know. And I will just wonder, what if I would have applied? What will have happened? Yes. And so I applied. I made the video, I prepared it. I didn't sleep all night that, that night. But it was worth. I sent the video, and just a few weeks later they announced that I was selected. If I would have, yes, it was just wonderful. Thank you so much. If I would have waited for my ready position, I wouldn't have experienced microgravity. I wouldn't have had my first microgravity training. And so that shows the importance of put yourself on uncomfortable positions. I had to open up and made my social media public. Basically, the only social media I have public is my LinkedIn, and in order to participate, I had to make my other social medias media public. And so I had to put myself in an uncomfortable situation, or a situation that I wouldn't say scared, but wasn't comfortable doing it in the past, and there to continue dreaming and say, I'm going to try it. If the worst that can happen is a no, then you can try it again. The moment will come. But never just question yourself as in, are you ready for this? Am I ready for this? Because sometimes you don't have to be fully ready to try out something.
Thank you. And you mentioned an angel that sent you a message. Can
Yeah.
you share about any mentor in your journey that influenced you, or mention your board of advisors? Tell us about that. Who influenced you?
Yes, I have had the huge blessing of many wonderful mentors, and I have to say, one of them is actually you, Mrs. Carla. You have guided me and you have inspired me through your own example of leadership. I have learned so much from you. I remember when we had our first connection, and it was through a mentorship program. It was wonderful. I learned so much. I opened up so much with you, and you just taught me and guide me through the things that I love, which are many of the things that you said, or most of the things actually. I am doing it now. And so it just means so much, and I'm so grateful to have had a mentor like you since the moment we met, and that it wasn't just okay, this mentorship program, and then that's okay. It ended, and that our relationship ended there. That wasn't the case. The mentorship and the program ended, but we still continue being in touch and build this wonderful relationship together. So I'm so grateful with that. Another is Mrs. Sandra Kaufman, who showed me that someone from Central America can also rise to incredible leadership at NASA. And she also made a huge impact. Was the one of the first people who told me, if you want to be an astronaut, you should do it. You just have to try it. And so it made a huge impact. And same as you, she has stayed in my life since we met. And I am so happy, and I have had wonderful people. I mentioned about some of the uh, writers and poets that I met from Nicaragua. They have had so much experience that they have guided me through it as well with their advices and their wisdom. So I'm so grateful. And these are some of the most influential people. And then Angel I mentioned, Rachel, we have a few not long ago that we know each other, but also how I have seen how she believes in the strength of women supporting each other in the space sector, and how she is always open to share her experiences in the space sector, and how you can reach for the stars. She was some of the people that, as a leader of an organization, was able to send two women to space and to the Kármán line, and to be able to see space from Earth from space. So she is a huge inspiration for me as well. So you, another person who has influenced so much in my life has been my father, who is a great leader of the community. I have learned so much from him about leadership. And I remember one of the first words that he put on me in my, you know, vocabulary of leadership was to always remind myself how extraordinary I am. And I remember he told me, Roxy, you are extraordinary. And I asked him, what is being extraordinary? What this means? And he explained it to me. And this is something that has stayed with me. And my father, Reverend Williams, was the one who made this huge impact in me. I have learned so much. I'm so proud that he is superintendent. He was just appointed superintendent, so I'm so proud of him. How I see the community loves him and learns from him. He has coached so many people into understanding about their leadership skills, and so he taught me a lot about it as well. So I am so proud, and he went through a lot of things, which is what has taught him as well to lead and to also help others. He went through through the first civil war that we had in Nicaragua, and he had to abandon the country to be safe. And then he was about, I think, 4 years old or something like that. And that at that age, he moved from Nicaragua to the US and still was able to succeed. He went first to Honduras and then from Honduras to the US, and just keep being someone very resilient and very strong and very brave. And he has gotten to this point and basically became the first person in the family to have a profession and a major and to have higher education. And so he is one of my biggest inspiration, and I am so grateful to have him in my life and that he has made such an impact in me. He took me in his arms just as a father, and I am so grateful for that. Him and my mother both have took me to their arms, protected me, loved me, and they were the ones who believed in me also from the very first moment, even with my crazy dreams, you can say, but they believed in me and have been there for me.
Well, many people definitely influence our life. Thank you for that honor to call me out. And your story is fascinating, but I know that there have been challenges. Are there any big challenges that you would like to share? Because people listening to the podcast may think, oh, it was so easy. And I know it is not. There have been many challenges throughout life. So is there any challenge that you would like to share?
Yes, absolutely. So yeah, nothing has been easy. Many you said in the beginning, I have to move through places, and I moved within Nicaragua from my hometown to the capital, looking for to reach my dreams. Even as a little girl, I knew that I didn't want it to stay at home. It wasn't something that I envisioned. Of course, there are women who decide to do that, and that's perfectly fine. But for me, even as a little girl, I always had the dream of becoming at least a professional, have a profession, and have my major. And getting to Managua was the start of it. And another big challenge, I will say, was as I always dreamed of getting to the space industry and building a career or pursuing this career path, the challenge was access. Coming from Nicaragua, the space sector felt very far away. Uh, I had someone who was one of the first people who told me that I was able to reach my dreams. Of course, aside from the my closest family and the people that I love, I remember his name is Professor Julio Vanini. We were in a competition, on a space competition, and at that moment I had already enrolled for studying political science, and I was still participating in a space competition because I was in a NASA Space Apps Challenge competition. And I told him, I was sharing with him what I was going to study. I want to study political science because I want to be the next president of Nicaragua, next female president. And he looked at me and he said, that's wonderful. That's a great dream. And how about dreaming about becoming the first person from Nicaragua to go to space and to become an astronaut? And that word and that statement was what connected me back to my spark of curiosity in my hometown when I was looking at the stars, to the moon, and wondering what was there beyond the stars and the moon. I didn't even know that astronauts had already landed on the moon when I was in my hometown. But when he told me that specific statement, it is what basically bring back what I had dreamed of for so long and wonder of for so long, to say, yeah, why not? This is something that I have always wondered of and had the curiosity of reaching and wanting to become an astronaut after I continue learning more about it. And it is what brought me back, and that's how I connected to the aerospace camp. And that's how I ended up making the shift of my career. So I felt at many times that space was very far away in my hometown, but I had people who believed in me. And many times I have felt like I didn't belong. But instead of letting that stop me, that I don't belong, I turned that into a motivation. I built networks, I showed up, and I worked hard to prove that I had something valuable to contribute. And another challenge related to that was the cultural expectation. As a young Afro-Miskito woman, not everyone understood why I wanted to pursue space. Most people from indigenous communities or Afro-Indigenous descendant, they are expected to to do social studies usually, or become activists, which are great things as well, as there are many things that are happening that are not good. But this was my dream, and this was something that I wanted to pursue. So some people thought that it was unrealistic. I overcame that, of course, by surrounding myself with people who believed in me, and by reminding myself that every no was not a rejection, it was just a redirection to what I really wanted to. So that was one huge challenge. But one of the hardest lessons came later, already as I was building and doing all these projects. When I experienced a situation where my success, because for me, with all the things that I have reached and from where I come, for me, I believe I have reached a success in terms of reaching many of the things that I have done. And so this made me a target. I had people trying to turn me down, and out of fear at the moment to be seen as the problem or facing repercussions, I decided to stay silent. And that silence cost me. And I carry that lesson with me now, that you can never stay silent in the face of injustice. As leaders, our voices matter. And if we can amplify the voices of others who might not be heard, we have a responsibility to do so. Because leadership isn't about guiding when things are easy, it's about having the courage to speak when things are hard. And that experience reshaped how I see leadership. And now I know that true leadership is not just about achieving success, but about defending also integrity, justice, ethics, and the people that you serve. And I overcame this challenge and obstacle, and I forgave the people who try to do this to me. However, I also promised myself to never stay silent when something like this happens, because it happens with many people. And if you feel like at some moment you stayed silent with something, also don't feel guilty about it, don't feel bad about it. It happened, these are things that happens, but you have to learn from it, because what matters is if there's a mistake, or if there's something that you needed to speak up about it and you didn't do it at the moment, you still have so many chances to do it, and you learn from it.
No, thank you. Appreciate that. And well, let's talk about a big accomplishment that you feel proud of. There are so many, and I'm so proud of you, but you share with us one that you are really proud of.
Thank you so much, Mrs. Carla. Yes, there are many accomplishments that I'm very proud of. I will mention some that recently I am proud of. One of those, it's being named Forbes 30 under 30, was definitely a proud moment. I didn't know, and I have to say that when they informed me that there were a few people who nominated me for it, the first person that came into my mind was you. That I
Mm.
thought nominated, that you nominated me. So, that moment was impactful for me. I wasn't expecting it. When I received the message, I remember I was working on something. I think it was a paper that I've been working on, and I received the LinkedIn message. I heard the sound, the notification sound, and I looked at it. It was the editor of Forbes telling me that you have been selected for the very first um, list or edition of Forbes 30 under 30 Latin America. and it was just wonderful. I call my family immediately to tell them about it. And for me, it wasn't just a proud moment for me, but for Central America, especially because after they informed me that I was selected and I was added in the list. That was already wonderful. And then when they start sharing about it, I found out that I was on the cover of the Central America magazine, and that made the news and everything so much more powerful. I was so excited. I was so happy. Um, but honestly, there are many accomplishments I'm proud of. And another one was, I mentioned it a little bit, but was also a chance to experience zero gravity on a
Yeah.
power flight. It was unforgettable to feel the weightlessness and connect that personal experience to the work that I do in space. I also had the chance through this experience to show people what you're capable of, that even the craziest dreams that you might think you have, maybe they're not that crazy. You can reach them and you can make them happen. So I think it was a huge experience. And another one for me, it was being selected as an expert speaker for this year's UNAUSA workshop ahead of the International Astronautical Congress in Sydney, where I'll be speaking on coastal resilience using space technologies. And for context, UNAUSA is the United Nations Office for Outer Space Affairs, and they coordinate international cooperation in the peaceful use and exploration of space. So to be invited by them is not only an honor, but also a huge responsibility, because it means the work that I've been doing to connect space with human needs, like helping coastal communities prepare for natural disaster, is being recognized at the global level. So it means a lot when I was selected to speak at this very important event, especially with high level people. And each of these milestones just reminds me that the little girl who grew up looking at the stars on the Caribbean coast is now living her dream, making her dreams come true. And that makes me proud, not just of the accomplishments themselves, but of what they represent. And just to inspire, because I think it's also a reason. Although I started last year, being part of working at Intel as a software developer intern was also something that it meant, and it's a huge accomplishment for me. And thank you so much for your support along the way and through the process, because that was one of my dreams as well. It was the first moment when I said, you can reach your dreams, because this was a dream that I have. And to work in one of the biggest tech companies was really amazing. And I learned a lot, and it showed me how much potential you can have, and that dreams, there's no dream unreachable. Every dream is a dream that you can work hard for and be able to reach. So these are the things that I'm very proud of.
Thank you for being a role model and for all those girls that are looking at the stars and that they see a possibility because you are opening doors and paving the way for them. Thank you so much. And now to close, can you share what unleashed leadership means to you, which you are a testament?
Thank you. I have had the privilege of having amazing leaders like you in my life, and that's what has shaped me as well. And to me, unleash leadership, it means unlocking the leadership that's already within us. This is something that I learned from you. I remember when you were mentoring me, and after I read your book as well, that you told me sometimes people think that there are people who are leaders and that there are people who are not. Um, and when I was being mentored by you, you told me that I had a leadership inside, but I had to develop it. to learn the things that I love and that I was passionate about, to identify the people around me, my network, and I think unleashed leadership is unlocking that leadership within us. It's not about just waiting for permission or a title. It's about how we act every day, right? How we treat people, how we use our voice, and how we show up in moments of challenge. And when I think of leadership itself, even I think of its origin. I remember I learned to understand more about leadership. I try to find and understand the etymology of it. And the origin of the word itself, it resonates so much with me because the word lead comes from the Old English, which means to guide, to show the way. And it's been tied to the idea of a path, of a road. And leadership then has always carried a sense of guiding others along a path, not pushing them, not forcing them, but walking ahead to show the way. And that etymology reminds me that true leadership isn't about power over others, it's about responsibility for direction and care for those who journey with you. So, for me personally, unleashing leadership has meant not only opening doors for myself, but also holding them open for others as well. And that mindset has guided me every step of the way. It reminds me that leadership isn't about being at the front all the time. It's about making sure also that others can walk beside you and after you. So in that sense, to unleash leadership is to free the guide within us and to embrace the responsibility of walking the path and making sure that no one is left behind. And so that's the reason why I'm also always thankful and grateful with the leaders that I have had the chance to follow and to learn from and to take their advices and their wisdom. And I thank you for being one of those leaders.
Thank you for such an inspiring time together as always. And I wish you the best of the best and keep inspiring us. Thank you, Roxy, for your time.
Thank you so much. This has been such a thoughtful and inspiring conversation. I really appreciate the space that you have given me to speak here with you. And I hope that anyone that is listening walks away believing that they can, believing in their own power to lead and to dream as well, that they can reach for any goals that they can, work hard and be there, but not just work for you. Sometimes people say you have to work first for you and then look for others. And I had these comments in the past. I had leaders who told me, I had one person I remember who told me, Roxy, you need to make sure that you reach your dreams first, the things that you want to reach first, and then try to help other people. And he said, because many people can put bananas on your way and you can slip out, but it was hard for me. It's hard for me to just say, okay, I'm gonna work for myself first and then see for others. Uh, but I said, why not be able to work for myself and at the same time I can help other people, because I wish I had, maybe growing up or in my hometown to see someone who will be that role model for me. I have had it growing up already as a teenager and so on. But, when you are a little girl, you also see many people, and there are many people who you wish are your role model. So, yes, this will be mine. Yeah, thank you
Thank
so
you.
much.
Thank you. See you soon.